Unless you're a born investigative reporter, quality interview answers are about as scarce as water in a desert. However, interviews are the heart of any documentary. So by learning how to get emotional and descriptive answers from your subjects, you can make a documentary worth watching.
Some interviews can be more nerve-wracking for the director than it is for the talent, but it doesn't have to be. With a little preparation and knowledge, it can actually be one of the most thrilling parts of making a documentary. To help you get prepared, we're going to show you what to include when briefing your talent, how to ask quality questions, and good ways to respond to questions that will get you the sound bites that you need.
The first thing you'll want to do in any interview is brief your talent. The talent is the most important part of the interview, so making sure they know the topic of the conversation gives you a better chance at getting a relaxed subject and a good interview. Every interview should be treated like a conversation, so asking your talent how their day's been going, if they have any questions about the interview, and if they need anything to drink are great ways to make them feel comfortable and ready to talk. However, during the briefing, make sure that your talent doesn't start answering the same questions that will be given in the interview. Rarely is a repeated answer as good as the first one. Once your talent is in front of the camera, it's your job to make them look and speak naturally. Make sure to tell your talent to speak with you instead of the camera, and reassure them that any mistakes they might make can be taken out in the editing room.